welcome back to Promoted, the podcast that gets you promoted and be great when you get there. My name is Renee. I am an aerospace engineer, pilot, and all-round av nerd. And with me today, I've got Michael Fury. How are you, Michael?
Hello. Yeah, good to be here. And short introduction to me, I'm Felicity Fury, stand-in for now. So Felicity's normally my wonderful wife and is normally the host on here, and I get to be her not so attractive replacement for the short period. And but I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, I'm a business owner, and for this purpose, I'm all very much guinea pig as well for you, Renee. So what are we talking about and touching on today?
Yeah, so today we're touching on self-care. Before I jump into it, though, I do just want to acknowledge country. I'm calling in from Larrakia. I have just arrived into Darwin this morning after a couple of weeks down on Gadigal country. So it's been a crazy couple of weeks, which leads us into our topic today. Self-care. So the juggle of trying to find time for yourself amongst other priorities. And travel's an interesting one because you're out of routine just by nature of the fact that you're traveling. You don't have access to the same spaces. You can't control your time as easily. You're dependent on other people. And I wanted to speak to Michael today about that because Michael not only runs his own business, has had experience in transitioning from one major kind of chapter in your life to another. The one I'm thinking of right now is probably Parenthood, but in between that, running your own businesses and then, having a family of your own and also having to travel to see your family as well. So let's start there. It's been a crazy few weeks. I feel out of sorts a little bit.
Yeah, I can tell. I'm sensing you, for someone who's normally got it all together, Renee, you're feeling a little bit discombobulated by experience. So tell us, what's been your experience last week or so in terms of, or when you've been traveling?
Yeah, so when I travel, I like staying with friends and family. I'm not like huge on hotels, and I don't really know why I have an aversion to them, but hotels are good for work stuff, but outside of that, I find them a bit too quiet for longer term stays. And so I like to make the effort as well to see the people that I love the most while I can. So I choose to opt into staying with people rather than hoteling. And then I think the impact of that, it's incredible in that, yes, now I get to spend quality time with the people that I love. And I think that's the most important thing. And that I prioritize that above my personal self-care goals. And that's what we're kind of speaking about today. So my standard routine when I'm at home, working from home, is wake up in the morning, grab a coffee, straight online. I work for like 5 to 6 hours straight doing US hours. And then I have the middle of the day off. So I go for my walk, I go to the gym, I do my groceries, I might watch a cheeky movie for 30 minutes. It's very chill, middle of the day, and it's all about me. And then Alex, my fiance, is at work. So I literally just have the day to myself. And then I log back on around 3 p.m. in the afternoon and I work to probably 6 or 7 p.m. So then I go and cook dinner, sit down with Alex, and that's my day. I go to bed early because I have to get up so early. So when I travel, I don't really get to hit my steps. I don't get to work out. I don't get to have me time. And I realize how spoiled and privileged this sounds, okay? But that's what was that?
You poor little thing, you're missing out on you.
And I know that. I know it's a privilege to have this time and to be able to focus on myself the way that I do. And I think it's just the self-talk piece is the hard thing. Like I really feel good about myself when I work out. I feel good about myself when I've hit my step goal because I know then that I'm prioritizing moving my body and just feeling good and feeling strong. And, that's the first thing that drops when I have other priorities. So it's more just doing that consecutively for 2 weeks. In that second week that I was away, I managed to get in my 3 workouts for the week. I managed to walk a lot more because I was in the same spot. But that first week I was moving around a lot and it just wasn't feasible. So, yeah, I mean, it's not a huge deal, but I really look forward to then getting home and getting back into my routine, to be honest. But I think that there's a bit of a change in your mindset. I feel like it affects your psyche in a little bit of a way as well, because it's like how you feel about yourself. So, Michael, how have you dealt with the constant change and transition, like particularly now in parenthood? What does that look like for you?
Well, I reckon. Well, I think there's two things we can talk about: parenthood, and I think also when you step into more senior roles, especially when you're managing people, which I think is suitable for this podcast specifically, because when you go from being, let's say, individual contributor, so you with no direct reports, what you're stepping into then is a mix up when you're actually managing people. I would say I have kind of transitioned away from, like, I will spend money now when I travel to have a hotel because I can control the environment more. And as much as I find when I travel, it's nice to see people, I would then also change how people interact with me. I'll ask them to come to me rather than me go to them. So I achieve the same outcome, because I find that busier you get, the more you need to have control over levels, especially when you travel.
Agree. Yeah.
And actually staying in someone's house is nice, but you don't know where the iron is. Maybe they've got a dog. Maybe they haven't washed the covers, or maybe there's a bit of a noise, or maybe it's much harder to control the controllables. And one of those is rest, right? And I think that's when it comes to travel. And I think it's this transition where early in your career, it's all about seeing people, connecting. You want to do that. And, and often it's saving money, right? Because it's like free or quote unquote, it's free.
Yeah.
But I think what's interesting is there's always a price. There's always a price. And the trade-off is, what are you wanting to trade, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll pay money, but you have control.
Yeah.
You pay money, but you have a gym downstairs. You pay money, like it costs loads more to stay in a hotel. You have to pay for hotel meals, but you also have control. And I think that's where, as a parent, you lose control. As when you step into a management position, you lose control over a lot of things. In fact, your time, you now have to become responsive to the needs of the people in your team. And that can be a really tricky trade-off. I know I'm writing a book at the moment, and I was reflecting this morning on anger and about when I was early as a parent, I experienced waves of anger like I've never experienced before.
Interesting.
And yeah, it was really weird. I think it was part sleep deprivation, but also like a mourning of the amount of control I used to have, the ability to like do whatever I wanted whenever I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Get my steps in your version of it, right? I can very much strongly relate to that.
Yeah.
And then now you've got this little person in your life, or you've got little people, and you're completely beholden to what they need. And then not only that is that my wife may have been up multiple times during the night, so she's hardly can get out of bed. So I got to get up when the baby wants to get up, and I can't just say delegate it to my wife because I want me time. It's like, what do we need as a team here that needs to be of service? And I think there was definitely, I experience less anger now, but there is equal frustration. We were in the bathroom just last night, my wife and I brushing our teeth, and I just said to my wife, I just wish there was a pause button. Meanwhile, our kids are on the couch, like it's 7:00 at night. You'd never know they're about to go to bed because they're like full of beans. They're like jumping up and down. Jemima was, doing like backward. Was it when you put your feet on the floor like an arch or something, when you arch your back?
Yeah, the bridge.
Whatever that's called. Bridge, yeah. And like she's doing bridge on the couch, winter, and then they started to like kind of like they're tired, so they started to like not fight each other, but like Winston's putting his feet in her face, and like it's just like it's a palaver, and I'm just literally leaning on the counter going, I wish there was a pause button. I wish there was a pause button. And so to your point, I think I would question, what are you willing to trade for control? And how much is your control worth to you? Because I think that's the thing we have to really focus on. Is there's actually a price to everything, you know?
I love that.
How does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes sense. And also, I think the question comes up around how much money you actually save by staying with people too, because by the time you buy them dinner to say thanks and then, you know,
Yeah.
engage in activities that they're doing
Yeah.
in their life, suddenly you're already spending money anyway. So it's,
Correct.
yeah. And to that point, you know, I think the thing that resonates with me is I got my work done, and that was the most important priority for the time away. But everything else that I normally prioritize was out the window. So
Yeah.
yeah, and it was a choice, and it's something that I reflect on often. Like, is it worth it to do that? And yeah, I think to that point, it's hard to say. Like, where do you draw the line? Because what are you trying to control? And I
Yeah.
guess sleep is the most important thing. And I think in each of the environments I was in, sleep was achieved, even though it was 5 to 6 hours most of the time, which is obviously not enough. So
Mm.
by the end of this week just gone and the weekend, I had to rest a lot more than I normally would just because I didn't sleep enough. But yeah, it's a tricky one. And I feel like the bigger thing that I kind of am intrigued about is like, how do you rationalize constant change? And how do you manage yourself? So you mentioned that you got angry, and now that that's kind
Mm.
of softened a little bit because you realize what you need to prioritize. I guess what are the things that you see are your priorities? Let us into the world of Michael and Felicity Fury. and
Mm.
and then how do you manage where you're not achieving that self-care aspect?
I reckon I'm going to challenge your question a little bit, and
Yeah,
I'd
go
say,
for it.
what's the fundamental principle you have to shift from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we all build our lives upon the circumstances we have. You
Yes.
may have got a job right now, maybe you've got a partner, or actually, if you look at it, when you're single, you have a certain type of life. When you
Yeah.
have a partner, you have to change things, right? Often, my wife and I remember when we were early in our marriage in particular, like we would often talk about how we are basically like two single people in a marriage where
Yes.
we would wake up in
I
the
can
morning
resonate with that in ways. Yeah. Yeah.
and they'd be like, yeah, see you later, cool. And then we'd go and live our single lives, come back,
Yeah.
not an emotional, sorry, not in a physical
Yeah.
sense, to
Yeah.
be clear, but like we'd then come back and then we're married just at home, and our lives wouldn't really,
Change much.
I'd be going out late after night, she's doing something else, and it was very two single people in a relationship. That's what it kind
Yeah.
of felt like. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Kids, I think, and then this also can happen when you change roles, is that all of a sudden you've now got your life has to start to change. So I think you asked what's been the key thing. I'd say I now prioritize progress over perfection. Whereas when you have control over everything, you can have a perfect day. You can wake up at 8 o'clock when you want to. You can have a nice breakfast. You can do all those things. You can get the 10,000 steps, blah, blah, blah. Like, if I've eaten, great. If
That's
I
what Michael is.
if I've been for a walk, that's great. Good on you. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
if I haven't, like if I've had if I got some sleep, great. That's cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh.
and so I think progress is much better. If my house is like a little bit tidy, that's great. That's really
Yeah.
great. And
Oh my God. This is my worst nightmare.
yeah, and this is also Michael with singledom is his worst nightmare too.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
can't imagine as a not having complete control. Why aren't all the clothes back in the wardrobe? Like, what's wrong? Like, what's going on? But
Yeah.
but there's also, you know, I was a tidy freak. I'm still, but if by most people's standards, would be a tidy freak, but by my own standard, nowhere near. Now I've got a higher tolerance for mess because that higher level is just, it takes so much effort. And when you've got effort across your day, what's the point?
Yeah.
And also, oh, I've got a tidy room, but I haven't spoken to my kids. Great.
Yeah.
That doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
I've did my 10,000 steps, but I didn't see my children. And that's often a trade-off I found early on, and actually it's ongoing, is that there's these small times of you get to see your kids and you're like, you're going to go to the gym with that? Is that is that worth it? Like, and it's not here in judgment from my side. It's just like, again, it comes down to what's important.
Yeah.
And what's the price you're willing to pay? Because there's a
Yeah.
price all the time. It might not be dollars, but it will be your priorities. And you invested that time with fam and them going to their house, and I think it says a lot of the time when people are willing to go to them.
Yeah.
And I also find when it comes to relationships, it's interesting when you ask them to come to you.
Yeah.
And when they come, because you're visiting the city, they live there.
Yeah.
And if they're not willing to do that, that's always, I find that very revealing actually
Yeah.
about
Agree.
the
Agree.
relationship.
Yeah.
And I have found that very insightful, uncomfortably sometimes,
Yeah.
because you start to learn about the real depths of your relationship or lack thereof.
Yeah. We definitely had one of those moments in this trip. Okay, so in summary, I actually love that you said progress over perfection. I think that
Mm.
that's something we can all strive for. Try and control what's in your sphere of control, and the rest of it, just try and do your best. And the final piece I wanted to land on is, what's your self-talk? How do you tell yourself at night when you're going to bed what means that you've had a good day? Where is your mindset at?
I don't think I can sit here and honestly say that I would be going to bed every night positively. That's not
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's about, because there's, I think especially if you've got a sick child or something like that, or they needed more work, like Winston this morning. Winston, we are trying to train, he's 4 now, and we're trying to develop him, obviously, his ability to be independent.
Yeah.
It took, Felicity asked me to pack the bag, his school bag this morning, and I was like, I could do it myself. Obviously, it's a super quick situation. I can get it done in less than a minute, probably. It took us the best part of 20 minutes to help him pack his bag.
Yeah.
20 minutes of internal frustration of going, oh, come on, just hurry up.
Yeah.
So I think that what I would, going to bed or just thinking about what's the most important thing you're trying to achieve right now.
Yeah.
Because that's where I would say I focus now, is that actually a lot of other stuff will fall to the wayside when you focus on your priorities. For us, it's, a great relationship with our children and children which are developing and thriving. And that also looks like them being angry at you sometimes because you said they can't eat cheese all the time or something like that. Like
Yeah.
so it's that. But do I go to bed just thinking, oh, well done? Like, nah, I think it's this continuous frustration around, I didn't achieve what I want, but okay, what's important to me would be the question I typically come back to.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, you've heard it here, ladies and gentlemen, progress over perfection, and just focus on the things that are your highest priority when it comes to change, managing differences in routine and people. Michael,
I'm
any
curious,
thoughts?
I want to know, what are you going to take from that? What are you going to take on from here? Does that help you? Or what do you think? Because you don't have to change much.
I think the answer is, like, there's no right answer. And I find I go to sleep at night. Well, I shouldn't say I go to sleep at night. I can be quite hard on myself if I don't achieve my priorities each day. So the internal self-talk is an important one for me. And it's not like, oh, you should have done better. It's like, okay, what did you have to sacrifice today in order to not achieve the things that you would normally prioritize? And then, am I comfortable with that? And then it's, I think there's also this payoff around, like, if you let yourself off on one day, then how are you planning ahead to try and achieve it for the rest of the week? And that's something else that I do. I'm constantly looking the day ahead to try and go, right, if I didn't get that goal in today, how can I get it in tomorrow? So I feel like there's a wheelhouse here that just doesn't really stop thinking ahead and creating efficiency. Like, I'm always trying to optimize everything. And it can be tiring. So yeah, I think that's something I need to work on, is how do you, I don't know, remain organized, but also let go of things easier. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'd say if I can offer something to that, and I think this is something to the people listening, is that I think it can be really tricky is that if you listen to a lot of people out there, like there's a entrepreneurial guy I follow called Alex Hormozy, incredible guy. He's built incredible net worth, and one of his his posts he puts out regularly is I sleep until I wake up, and it's usually the first one he talks about. And I know with that phrase, he's lost 90% of parents because
Yes.
if only you had that, right? And I think it speaks to an evolution that we almost go through, but it can be not spoken about much, is that as you get older or as you progress through life, you will need to change. Like there are different seasons, and what worked even a year ago might not be suitable now. And especially if you have a big demanding job like you've got, maybe there's an evolution that you need to go through, and that kind of perfection mindset is no longer suitable or compatible for someone with a big life like you and doing so much. And that, you've got podcasts, you've got a partner, you're about to get married, you've got all others, like that mindset around perfection is kind of great if you have a small life and aren't doing much.
Yeah.
Is it compatible for today? And that would be the challenge I'd probably put out to the people listening is your mindset compatible with the life that you have today? Because even a week ago, it could have been suitable. Actually, it might not be suitable now.
Yeah. And this leads into a whole other conversation about managing change, which we're not going to address in this podcast. But as always, that's a really great conversation, Michael. Thanks so much for your thoughts and your challenging questions. I love it. We hope you two got a lot out of today's session. That's it for today. Have a great one.
Thanks, team. See you soon.
Bye. Bye.